Amy walked through the hospital corridors after a long day.
That night, the power had gone out, and the hospital was shrouded in darkness. It was so dark that Amy could barely see anything around her.
She was hoping for some time alone, but the hospital was anything but peaceful.
Being alone here always brought a strange, unsettling feeling. In the old building, there were often creaky doors or the sound of metal scraping against metal. It was normal, considering how old the building was. But tonight, something felt different. There were deep, rustling sounds, as if they were coming from the very walls of the hospital. Amy decided to put on her headphones and listen to music to distract herself.
But suddenly, she noticed the sound coming from her headphones had changed.
It wasn't music anymore, it was a faint whisper, like something was speaking around her in everything.
She noticed a light flickering in one of the rooms. Curiously, she opened the door and stepped inside.
The room was empty, but there were bloody, filthy tracks on the floor.
Amy hesitated and carefully followed the tracks which led to a bedroom.
The bed was disheveled and stained with blood, but the most terrifying thing was the large shadow standing in the corner of the room. Amy's skin prickled.
She squinted, and the shadow started to move.
The darkness slowly began to take shape, as if it were turning into a monster.
Suddenly, the shadow lunged at her.
Amy stepped back in fear. The shadow transformed into a creature with long legs, sharp claws, and eyes focused on her like a predator hunting its prey. All the sounds faded, and all Amy could hear was its breath and footsteps. She tried to back away, but the creature began to approach her with a terrifying scream. Amy quickly began to retreat. The creature's eyes followed her every move.
The humming from the depths of the hospital seemed to grow louder, as if the creature's growing anger was resonating in the walls around her. Fear tightened in her chest with every step. Suddenly, as she tried to run, Amy tripped and fell.
She shut her eyes, trembling in fear. But then, just as suddenly, the creature stopped.
When Amy opened her eyes, she heard a scream echoing through every corner of the hospital.
The darkness grew, as if every corner was closing in on her.
Something was inside. The hospital wasn't just a hospital anymore.
It had become a nest for dark forces. Amy finally realized this hospital wasn't just a place for patients, it was a home for dark entities.